Babysitters of Reddit, what were the weirdest rules parents asked you to follow? I had to change the kid's cloth diaper every 2 hours on the dot. The kid was 6. I assumed it was for some sort of disability or something. But no. His parents just didn't want to potty train him. And the kid was content with being babied. I remember just making the kid put his own diaper on and encouraged him to use the bathroom if he had to go. I never went back. I had to put the kids to sleep with the CD player going. That wasn't the weird part. It was a recording of their parents basically going, "Molly, you are wonderful. You are a star. You're going to shine bright." That isn't super weird. But it was like several hours long. And apparently they listened to it every night. After a few hours it changed to become a Ninja and on-ear ancestors. You know. I never stayed long enough to hear the end. No hot sauce after 9 PM. Edit. To give some context, the kid loved hot sauce. But his folks were super overprotective. Maybe they had heard of PPL eating too much hot sauce and throwing it up as it would not settle? Honestly, the kid was made of solid steel. We went to Taco Bell pretty much every time I babysit. My mom told me a story of when she used to babysit during her teenage years. She did it for this religious family whose church did not believe in television or their members watching it. She would bring a portable TV with her to watch. Once the kids were asleep, the parents came home and they were captivated by it. They would invite her over just so they could watch television. Did you charge them extra for that privilege? Not necessarily a rule, but the first time I went to their house they told me about their daughter's very serious peanut allergy. Walked me through the EpiPen, prevention, phone numbers of their neighbors who were doctors, all fine so far. I took this very seriously, but then the mother put her hands on my shoulders and said, "If she dies we won't blame you. It won't be your fault." While I appreciate the thought, this freaked me the hell out and I was 100 times less comfortable. Someone wanted you to off their kid. Really? Wink, it won't be your fault at all. Wink wink. Asked me to drive their 3-year-old twins around in my personal vehicle for 2.5 hours because that's the only way they can nap. No. I simply put the kids in their beds, closed the door, and they were asleep in 15 minutes. Not a rule, but a single mom once told me to use the bat by the door in the event the kid's father comes by and tries to take them. That was pretty weird and uncomfortable. Hippie family. The 2-year-old had no bedtime and no rules. She can eat what she wants. No bedtime. And if she falls asleep, leave her wherever she crashed. The parents came home at 2:30 to a toddler eating chocolate cake on the couch with her preferred American pickers on TV. That's fine apparently. 6 months later the mom is very pregnant and asks that, when the baby is born, if I could wrangle the toddler while the mom gives birth in a bathtub at home. The 2-year-old was to be in the room, watching, while I explain what's happening. I left that evening, when the parents came home, fried chicken in the toddler's hand, Keeping Up with the Kardashians on TV, and denied their next request to come sit. As a 20-year-old, I wasn't prepared to see the mess of someone else's home birth. I used to babysit for this family when I was in high school in the 80s, and they had no books or reading material of any kind, except that there would usually be like 2 sections of the WSJ and a running magazine lying around. No books. Anyway, once I went over there and the mom told me like 9 times, begged me not to eat the box of Miller wafers that was in the cupboard because she needed them for a recipe the next day. Begged. I was like, okay, got it. They are totally safe because I don't even like vanilla wafers. She kept mentioning it, and it was the first thing she asked me about when they got home. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the family gave me instructions to let their kids drink chocolate milk, which they were otherwise not allowed to have. I think they wanted their kids to associate babysitter time with fun time, so the parents could go out more often. Seemed to work out well for them. The kids both grew up to be successful people. These kids I babysit a lot for when I was a teenager loved when I came over because we got to watch a movie, eat frozen pizza / mac and cheese / hot dogs / other fun foods. The daughter was a huge girly girl and the mom was not, so I would usually paint her nails and braid her hair and we'd watch Star Wars, so the son was thrilled. I loved babysitting for them. I used to get a lot of work because I was the only male doing babysitting and families with lots of older boys loved me because I always took them to the park or played sports in the backyard or made a campfire and stuff. Really, I just hated kids who were fussy at bedtime. So I tired them out and enjoyed the rest of the evening in peace. Babysit for a family that had 3 boys, 1 a newborn. I was never to feed the baby by holding it next to me, but I was to put it on my legs and make eye contact with him at all times. No cuddling. Also, I was never to let the older boys lose any game we were playing. I quit after about a month. Years later I found out that youngest one, the baby that wasn't to be cuddled, jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. That's what happens when you have a completely emotionally distant relationship with your children. That time is so essential for development, and without human contact, our brains literally cannot develop properly. Shit like that should be prosecutable as abuse/neglect. I'm a midwife, and it surprised me that I had to tell a new father he needed to cuddle his child. I came in to see how they were going, and he had the baby laying on the bed, and he was just holding the bottle up to the baby. I had to explain how important it was to hold the baby while they were feeding. They seemed to be a normal couple who wanted their baby. How could you not want to hold your child? They are so snuggly when feeding at that age. To give him warm milk in a baby bottle right after every dinner. He was a fully functional 10-year-old boy. Edit. To answer some of the questions, yes, he was fine with it. His parents were otherwise normal. As far as I saw, the kid himself was great. His teeth seemed fine from what I can remember. Not that I really would have paid attention to that back then. But I just found him on Facebook, and it looks like he did have braces around 14 to 15 years old. If Brady stands by the door, it just means he needs to go out. Open the door and let him back inside in a few minutes. Brady was a 4-year-old boy. That might have actually been my mom and little brother. When my brother was 3 to 4, he was learning to pee like a big boy in the big boy potty. Well, mom turned away for a second to do something, and my brother must have nudged the toilet lid or something because it came down and smooshed his boy parts. He was terrified of the toilet for a year. He told everyone that the potty bit me. And he refused to use anything resembling a toilet that year. Mom didn't want him to regress back to diapers, so she let him pee off the back porch and convinced him to poop in a little kid's training potty. He refused to pee in it though. I'm sure anyone that babysat us during that time was confused and concerned. The mom had me put her kids in their car seats and sit in the driveway with all the car doors open while she just hung out inside the house. 5 hours of me standing in the driveway watching them sit inside their car. Never returned. Edit. I meant I never returned to babysit for her again. Not that the mother mysteriously disappeared. As for people asking why I didn't take them somewhere, she specifically asked me to just sit in the driveway with them. I also didn't have my driver's license yet, so I couldn't have taken them anywhere, even if I wanted to. The kids were twins who were 4 years old. I think they were weirdly well behaved and didn't complain about what we were doing. To this day I have no idea what she was doing inside or why she didn't just let them play in the yard. I'm just as confused as you. OMG, thanks for asking, because you reminded me of a weird thing. The 3-year-old daughter had to watch this VHS tape of a live Fleetwood Mac concert before bed. I was like, okay, cute. That's adorable. 3-year-olds love the weirdest things, so quirky, and this will be fun. But she didn't love it. She always wanted to watch Land Before Time instead. But it was always on the note left for me, like /page and number, pediatrician, chicken soup for dinner is in fridge and watch Fleetwood Mac at 6:30 before bed / obviously the family eventually found out I wasn't making her watch it, as I had no ducking reason to believe it was a secret. They were clearly upset by this, and I was never called back to babysit, so that was weird. Wasn't a rule, but on my first day they sent over an adult male friend of theirs who asked to come in. I said no, and was then told I was being tested and I had paced. When I was about 14, some friends of my parents asked me to babysit their 9 or 10 son who wanted a boy babysitter. When I got to their house, the mom told me that her son loved poached eggs and asked me to make him a poached egg on toast for dinner. She quickly explained to me how to make it, as if it were something really simple and easy. Later that night, after wasting half their eggs in a hopeless effort to make a poached egg, I asked the kid if he liked scrambled eggs. He said he loved scrambled eggs and ate them without complaint. When the parents came home, I apologized for using up their eggs. They laughed and seemed to appreciate the effort, although the mom explained it again and insisted that it was really simple. I'm almost 40 now, and I still suck at making poached eggs, and it cracks me up that the mom thought a 14-year-old should be able to whip one up based on a few instructions. On the other hand, as a parent, I appreciate the hell out of that kid. Edit. Wow. I love that this has brought out so many egg poaching tips. Now I need suggestions for hollandaise. Only 2 hours of reading time. To be fair, the mom was a librarian and her 2 kids were adorably nerdy. They had an entire room filled with books, and even then we'd make trips to the library from time to time. The rest of the time was supposed to be outside or doing some activity. It was a super sweet deal too, because she paid for not only her kids to have a pool pass but me as well. So we basically went every day all summer and we would play in the pool. One had me feed her 1-year-old only from a freshly opened baby food container. If she only ate 2 or 3 spoonfuls, I was to throw it away, and when she wanted more in 15 minutes I was to open a new one. I thought it was so she would finish her meal and be full for a while, but she said it was okay to feed her every time she wanted it. I would probably throw away 5 or 6 jars in a 2-hour sitting. They cost more than I usually made for sitting. Babysit for a woman who knew my mom. She had 2 kids. Both acted like feral animals. Kicked and bit me very hard when I told them no. She had her TV behind a plexiglass thing because they keep breaking TVs. She had locks on the outside of the bedroom door and crib set up that essentially locked the younger kid, 3 or 4 years old, into her crib. It had a top that you pulled down and padlocked to the sides. It was absolutely horrific. The kids screamed bloody murder when I tried to get them to listen. Their grandma who lived next door came over. Did she come over to help me out? No. She gave these kids cookies and she talked me for not being able to control them. Like it's my fault that her grandkids act like animals, and not the fact that their mother apparently treats them like animals and she herself gives them treats when they have temper tantrums instead of putting them in timeout like a normal person. Their mom promised to be back by 9. Important because I was in high school. She wasn't back until 2 AM, and that was after I started calling all the bars to find her. I was planning to eat dinner afterwards, so I was starving. I called my mom and she ordered delivery for me. The grandmother got pissed that she didn't order enough for the kids too and guilted me into sharing it. The mom finally came home, paid me $10 for 10 hours of babysitting, even though we agreed on $20 for 5 hours, and proceeded to shitty talk me next time she went out, saying I was lazy and a bad babysitter. She said I should have beat their asses and locked them in the bedroom when they started acting up. Edit. My mom and I contacted CPS afterwards a few times. Unfortunately nothing came of it. Where I live they give people 24-hour notice before inspecting a house, so I'm sure she was able to hide whatever, or they just gave her a warning IDK. I never babysit there again. Not babysitter, but my friend was 24 and his parents asked him to watch their house while they were gone. They left a list of rules and instructions. It was on a laminated paper and looked like something for a 10-year-old. He was not allowed to answer the door, and if someone kept knocking he was to call the cops. The mother asked me to stop by the house to meet her 2-year-old son a week before I was supposed to babysit him for the first time. I pulled up to the house and saw that the young boy was standing at the glass front door with a t-shirt on and nothing else. I go in, and I must have given the child a strange look because the mom started to explain that her son doesn't like to wear pants, so they let him run around pantsless with no diaper on, though he isn't potty trained. I told her that this made me uncomfortable and asked if I could put pants on him when I was watching him. And she got upset with me and said they don't like to make their 2-year-old son do anything he doesn't like to do, so they let him run around without pants on. Which unfortunately means he goes to the bathroom on the floor, since he won't wear a diaper and he isn't potty trained. Not a rule, as I only went there once, but a very odd request. I used to work housekeeping at a hospital. A doctor that was frequently on the floor that I worked on asked me if I could watch his kids on Saturdays. He had 3 toddlers, ages 2, 3, and 4. His wife didn't work, but wanted time to go shopping and get her hair and nails done. I totally understand. As my son was 4, I was also allowed to bring him. I get there early as the doctor is getting ready to leave. He says he's cooking breakfast, and while he gets the kids fed and dressed, could I help change his wife's tampon? She'd drunk a lot the night before and was completely paced out and was leaking and messing up their sheets. He's a doctor. I told him I should work for someone more than a few minutes before I go rummaging in their private parts, and that I'd tend to the kids if he tended to his wife. What I really wanted to do was leave, but the kids would be home alone with their hungover mother, so I chose to finish cooking and stay. He went upstairs and sent the kids to the kitchen where I was putting food on plates. After a little while, he popped his head in and said it was a short day. He was done upstairs and he was leaving. I never met the wife. He came home at noon, gave me $100, and I never spoke to him again. Like this video and this good boy will be your mailman forever. We are Redditation, and we redditate every day. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a wonderful day, you magnificent people.